In this video, I'm going to introduce you to two new tools. I'm going to do that by starting with a cube once again. And this cube, I am going to delete one of the faces off. Now, up until now, if you've had a problem where you've accidentally deleted a face, the only real way for you to resolve it with the tools that you've been introduced to is just by hitting Control-Z or Command-Z if you're on a Mac and stepping back. But otherwise, you didn't really have any way to resolve it other than rebuilding the model from scratch. Now I'm going to show you how to resolve that and also how to use these tools in some new and creative ways. So the first one I'm going to introduce is the Append to Polygon tool. That can be found by coming up under Mesh Tools and going to Append to Polygon. And if I select this tool, you'll notice that the lines are a little bit thicker where there are open edges. Those are edges where it's connected on one side but not connected to anything on the other. Maybe a little hard to see on your screen right now, but if you look closely, you'll see that this is just regular object mode edge, and these are about double thickness where they're open. So with the tool selected, if I left click on one of the edges, it will actually turn the other open edges that are available to be appended to purple. So you'll see that these have now changed into purple lines, and they've got arrows to help clearly show where they are. So if I left click across, I've now appended that, and if I hit enter, I can close it. Now I can hit Control-Z to undo that. If I hit the Y key, because that was the last tool used, I can hit the Y key to quickly select that again. I can also append across here, and by the way, this that I did right there, I accidentally clicked not on the edge but in space. And so this is something you can do with the Append to Polygon tools to create this additional geometry. And when I hit enter, that's actually a piece of geometry, but you notice it's not very clean. It creates an n-gon. It's not laid out well. So it's a tool that can be used, but be careful because it can also present challenges and problems. So if that happens, you can just hit enter to close it and then delete the face or step backwards. So to do that, if I just backspace, and then I'm stepping backwards, so backspace, 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 and then I can complete it, but I'm going to click on that top edge, hit enter, and now I will get these two edges. And so I've created two triangles, but because I'm trying to encourage you to work in quads, once again, I'll come to edge, select that edge, delete it, and it's appended. So I'm going to delete the face once more. I now want to introduce you to the second tool, and that is bridge. Now, bridge can be found in a few different areas. One is under the modeling toolkit. You can see that there's bridge right here. The other is under edit mesh, bridge. Now, bridge works in a slightly different way than Append to Polygon. In Append to Polygon, you selected the tool first and then selected the edges. For bridge, you will select the edges and then you will click on bridge. You'll notice also that that's up here on the shelf for bridge as well. If you would like to have Append to Polygon tool be available on the shelf, what you can do is select that tool, middle mouse drag up here to the shelf, and you can add it in, and then it's available on the shelf as well. So with bridge, that's another way to help fill in these gaps. But there's another thing you can do with bridge as well. So if I select those two edges and I want to use bridge, once I click on it, it brings up this option box. So I'm able to add in a lot of different information. I can add in divisions, tapers, twists, all this fun stuff. But for the division, if I increase that to something like 3, you can see that it's got additional divisions. This is good and can be very useful, but it can also present some challenges. So if I come in and I select one of these edges, it is no longer sealed on the top. Because of those divisions, it didn't connect in properly because there was no correlating, or there weren't correlating vertices on this face or along this edge that this could connect into. So on the surface, it would seem like this is an n-gon because it's going to have more than 4 sides. But you're going to find in a couple different ways how that can be problematic if you don't have things lined up. So for example, if you go to select an edge and you see shimmering between this, that's an indication that there might not be, or those might not be sealed, that there's a problem there. Another way to find this is if I go to check for n-gons. So if I go mesh, clean up, and I select matching polygons, faces with more than 4 sides, and hit apply, it'll say, hey, there's no n-gons. But obviously, visually, there should be n-gons. There should be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sides on this face and on this face. And there's not, which means that that never fully closed. So what I need to do is come back, delete these faces, and then I can select the edges again and hit bridge. So whether you use the Append to Polygon tool or the bridge tool, these are effective ways of filling in those gaps. But let me show you some other ways that these can be very useful. I'm going to delete that face again. I'm going to move this piece over. I'm going to create a new cube. I'm going to move it over here, scale it up just a little bit. I'm going to delete that face. And what you can do is you can use both of these tools to actually fill gaps between objects. Now let me explain this a little bit. If I go into Mesh Tools and I select Append to Polygon tool, or I grab it from here on the shelf where I just moved it, I can grab one edge, but you notice it's not allowing me to grab an edge on this side. So I'm going to actually backspace. I'm going to switch to the bridge tool. I'll grab this edge. Let me switch to a different selection first, and then I'll shift select this edge. So I've got those two edges selected, so I should be able to bridge. But when I bridge, nothing happens. It has an error. It doesn't work with multiple objects selected. So the way I resolve this is by combining these objects first to turn them into a single object. So in a similar way as I did with the chair and the table, where I had multiple pieces and I combined them, you do the same with this. So if I go Mesh, Combine, then I want to obviously delete history, freeze transforms, check the outliner, make sure there's nothing left over. Yep, just that one new cube that was created from the combination of the two. All right, so now with both of those selected, if I grab two edges, I can select bridge, and now I'm combining these pieces together. Now let me step back. This is where it can be very fun. So if I grab multiple edges, so for example, I double left click on that edge and shift double left click on that edge to get the entire edge loop, and I bridge, I can connect both of those forms very quickly. And now if I add some divisions, so let's say I add 2 divisions in there, I've got that geometry that creates an edge loop, so I'm able to keep things in quads, keep things clean, and so now it doesn't create the gaps. It actually does seal and work together, which is really useful. If I try and do the same function with the Append to Polygon tool, it does work, and this is the way I used to do it a lot more, because it gives me a certain level of control that sometimes the bridge tool doesn't bridge correctly between multiple edges on different objects. In most cases it will, but sometimes it doesn't, and so in those cases I prefer to just do it manually with the Append to Polygon tool. And once again, if you accidentally click off into space, you can just hit backspace and then click the correct edge, hit enter. And so I just do this one at a time, and I can fill that gap. And then once again, by using the multi-cut tool, if I need to add in those divisions, grab the multi-cut tool, hold down on Control. Let's see if I can grab the correct tool though. For some reason it's not letting me select that right now. Let me select it from here. Okay, here we go. I apologize, had a moment where the computer was trying to think. Alright, and so I can add in those divisions and be able to use that to, once again, make shape changes and adjust things. So there's a couple of ways to use the Append to Polygon tool and the bridge tool to be able to create complex objects, to fill gaps, and to do a lot of other things. So we'll end this video for here and come back with the next one.